think we're good.
Is it going?
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, no,
That was a good question.
All right.
I'll have you back if I have to have it changed.
At some point, Tony,
We
I'll
know where to
learn all
find
the
Tony.
different boards and organizations. Okay.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna call to order the meeting of the Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency for our annual meeting. It is January 12th, 2022. It's currently 5:39 p.m. Welcome back, everyone. Good to see your faces. As noted earlier, Crystal here has killed a tree just for you all. Several, in fact, so that we have all the documents needed for today's meeting. We're gonna go ahead and run through the agenda. The first thing we have is the approval for the minutes of the August 17th, 2021 meeting. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
And Mike, do you have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Any opposed? All right. We have consideration for the approval of the financial reports. Before we look at the financial reports, is there any discussion from either Crystal or John about our financials?
Nothing too exciting. We finished up the year flat line, which is great. We didn't make any money, we didn't lose any money. But pretty consistent all through the board and keeping the train going.
Okay.
Mike, did you have questions on?
Yeah, just some curiosity questions,
Yep.
just with the, JLDC payment status, just what's the process for non-payment?
For JLDC loans?
Yeah.
I can get you that paperwork.
I was just curious, cause there's one there that hasn't been,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
that's part of the executive. We discussed that in past, and JLDC is working to resolve it at the same
Okay,
time.
so there is a process.
They're going back and forth right now, but yeah.
And my only other questions were sort of with the 2022 budget. Some of the lines for like computer program expenses, and this year we're at 69, but the budgeted is only 35 for next year.
So the reason being is we are currently paying for two different computer program expenses. We're paying for GovPilot and also MyGov, but the plan is only to pay
So it'll
for
be
one of them
reduced
this coming
next
year.
year.
It will reduce back to that 35 to 33, which was the original plan. And that's just because we were switching programs from the MyGov to GovPilot, and now we had not initially planned and budgeted for at the beginning of last year.
That was one like really high one that I saw.
Yeah, I really don't like that one as well, so. We're not on the same boat on that one.
Mm-hmm.
We do not wanna pay another year of double computer number of expenses.
All right.
What about the land bank management fee?
Yep, so it just depends on how the land bank management fee works is we complete demos for the land bank. On our behalf, we receive only the demo, administrative fee for permits, demos that are outside of Jamestown. So we get two benefits from the land bank. One, that they're actually coming in, they're paying for demos, and then two, we administrate the other ones, and as a result, we get money. And it changes based on how many demos we can get done.
So this is the income from them for the demos?
Yep, so we do like the paperwork and stuff, and we open the bids and all that jazz, certified payroll.
No, that's good, let's do more.
Yeah.
And it can
Unfortunately,
change,
Fair enough.
unfortunately, there, and as we go through the agenda, we'll approve just a continuation of our agreement with the land bank. But we are getting close to the end of that contract, which is good and bad because the management fee will go away when that happens. But the land bank, that agreement was made possible through an Office of the Attorney General grant that the land bank had received. So once all of that funding has been expended for demolitions, there's no more land bank demolitions.
We have a window here.
We do, we have a list that we're still working to complete, that were identified, prior, but, so you will see that land bank management fee, decrease, and then eventually it will go away. Unless they get more funding, which would be great.
I know Gina wants more money too,
Yeah.
so they're gonna be trying.
Yeah, those are my questions that I had.
Okay.
Financials.
Any other questions on the financial reports? Do you have a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the next thing on the agenda is the authorization of M&T Bank, Key Bank, and Evans Bank as depositories for the Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency.
So moved.
Okay. Second? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, sounds good. Our fourth item on the agenda is the approval of the 2022 contract for services with the city of Jamestown in the amount of $415,000, along with office and parking rental space in the Jamestown Municipal Building. As a note, this is their annual agreement with the city to provide code enforcement and other economic development services. How I read this. So moved by Tony. Second? Second by Greg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. Number 5, approval of the 2022 contract for services with the Jamestown Local Development Corporation in an amount not to exceed $140,000.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have the approval of the 2022 contract for services with the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation in an amount not to exceed $12,000. Any questions on that? You guys are aware of what they do for the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation? We've talked about it before.
In the coming years, they will go up slightly as well. We do a lot for them, so we deserve more money later on.
So
So moved by Tony, second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Number 7 on the agenda, approval of the continued contract for services with the Chautauqua County Land Bank in an amount not to exceed $850,000. We just talked about that. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
All right, second? Second, Tony. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Number 8 on the agenda is the approval of the 2021 to 2025 JCAA collective bargaining agreement. I'll note on this one that the city council has approved the JCAA collective bargaining agreement. However, a portion of Jura's employees do fall under that agreement, so it does require Jura's consent as well. So any discussion either from Crystal or John on this?
I feel like Ryan had a strong opinion.
Strong opinion?
Strong noted, that just that we're gonna have increased wages throughout the years.
Yeah, it's
It's like
2.5%
2.5% for the first 3 years,
and
and
2.75% in the fourth year, with some increases in health contributions as well.
just to be aware for the long term.
Obviously, it's budgeted for, and projected, over the next course of the full contract, so.
Okay, questions?
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, second? Second by Tony, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The next one is the approval of management salary schedule. In the executive session. We do want to, before we do any approval of the management salary schedule or the Jura budget, we would like to try to go into an executive session to discuss 2 personnel matters. With no action to be taken, we do intend to return back to an open session afterwards for further voting. So can I have a motion to go into an executive session for 2 personnel matters? So moved by Tony, second by Ryan. All those in favor?
Shouldn't take long.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now in executive session.
Oh, thank you.
Good call.
Is there literally,
Just take it out of the room, it's the easiest way to do it.
by, just let us know. You can close it.
Okay, welcome to stay out there, we'll be done this in a moment.
They don't quote me word for
Is it
word.
still on?
Yeah, they're just gonna leave it. I don't know how to pause it. Eddie said it was the easiest, just leave it.
Okay.
You gonna quote me word for word on the JRC?
Oh, no, I didn't, wasn't writing anything about the JRC. Oh,
I'm just teasing.
no, I know.
I gotta make jokes because it's not tense in there sometimes.
Oh, is it? No.
Ah,
I
I
got it.
like to let them.
Yeah.
Maybe
No,
it's
I mean,
not
it's
tense.
just.
Maybe I think it's tense because I feel like.
Oh, me too.
I always-
Right. No, the JCAA contract thing, which, because it's just a follow-up to what happened in council, so that's something I'll
Yeah.
mention. And on and on.
Yeah, I didn't like those either. I don't get you.
Unsecured.
Yeah. I just have to roll with whatever they tell me is the new plan.
Don't forget whoever's watching this will be also
Yeah.
on YouTube later,
It is.
forever, I'm sure.
I'll leave it. Disappear. I guess maybe we should hide this thing a little more. I'll run away.
Or patio.
Yeah, and they also have Potter's Terrace right there too, or not Potter's Terrace, that,
Winter Garden Plaza.
yeah, that's it.
Oh,
It's still going.
oh, it was recording that whole time?
Yeah, I didn't want to stop.
Is it muted? No.
No, it's still.
Okay.
Nothing's different.
All right. Jeez. Hang on. Okay.
Okay, we are now back into open session. We did have an executive session where no action was taken. We're gonna continue with our agenda. We're at number 9, approval of the management salary schedule. We have a motion.
Move.
Moved by Ryan, second. Second. By Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's passed. We now have approval of the 2022 Jura budget. Any discussion from Crystal or John? Overall budget? I know we had some discussion earlier. Questions from Mike?
Yeah, that's, I mean, other than the wages projecting to go up in the next 5 years is the only thing. That would be the big chunk, so.
Any other questions on the budget? Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Move second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to the next one. The authorizing agency and our staff members to attend various meetings and conferences relative to code enforcement and community development initiatives during 2022. We have a motion? So moved by Tony, second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, now we have an engagement letter for 2022 audit with Dresser and Malecki. I'll note that Dresser and Malecki also handles the city's audit. I don't know if there's any discussion from John, Crystal.
Went pretty well last year. Pretty nice, we'll see. But, we got a pretty
You did.
cost effective as well. We were a little under budget last year and hopefully gonna be under budget again.
And very thorough.
And they're very thorough. They asked me for a bunch of stuff.
I got called in on an audit providing stuff for the first time in my career as an attorney, so I mean, they're very thorough, I'll give them that.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
Tony made a
All right,
motion.
Tony made a motion, do we have a second? Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have a resolution appointing Benjamin Haskin, legal counsel for Jura, and authorizing the reimbursement according to the proposed 2022 fee schedule.
So moved.
Question first before you move. How much did we pay for Ben services last year?
I can go find it.
You know offhand? Okay. I was just curious.
I wanna say actually nothing, because, the zombie grant was supposed to be taking over, so I actually wanna say 0, other than his, new loans. Yeah, no, we don't. Other than our JLDC new loans, which we would have paid on, or loan for doing that extra work.
I see.
Which
There was
is,
one,
yeah, there's only one, so we got $300.
Okay.
and I think that was technically dispersed from jail.
It was,
as well.
yes, it was.
Best attorney fees I've heard in a while.
So, we'll confirm that.
I will
is
confirm
truly
that,
the
I
case.
can go look at it. I can tell you in like 2 minutes.
No, Dave, that's okay. I was just, I'll get with you later. I was just curious if we go offhand.
I'm pretty sure it's 0.
We had a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 14, we have the appointment of the Jura Executive Secretary, Crystal Surdick. Unless there is a motion to appoint Tony Dulce, the new secretary, no? Want to take it over, Tony?
Do I get paid?
You'd be down one director of development.
I think that's salary too, on my top of my retirement.
Hey.
Nice job, Jay.
So we have a motion to appoint Crystal Surdick as the Executive Secretary of Jura.
So moved.
Mike, second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations, Crystal.
I get to keep my job.
The privilege and honor is all yours. We have the acknowledgement of the fiduciary responsibility, conflict of interest, and whistleblower policy. I do not believe we need to vote on it. I believe we
Nope,
just let folks
everyone.
know that you can sign it,
Yep.
fill it out, and get it back to Jura, please. Any questions on that? All right. don't forget to disclose. I always like to remind people. And we have number 16, the presentation of the 2021 Jura accomplishments, which you should have as a staple packet that Crystal has given out. See that? Crystal, if you want to walk through it.
Yeah, and this is a big packet, I'm not gonna walk through it, you know, completely. It's kind of a high-level overview. Just wanted to give everyone a sense of some of the projects that we have either been working on, have started working on, the variety of things that we do. You know, so the first category is economic and community development projects. We've got everything from, you know, the former Key Bank building, which has been an ongoing project for a long time. We continue to try to work through the complexities of that project with a developer that has since had personal challenges come up and is now looking to sell the property. We've got a DRI grant that's attached to that. The time is ticking on that. So if it doesn't get sold and transferred to a new developer, we could potentially lose funding towards that building. So we try to stay on top of that. We've had several conversations with the state. We've had several conversations with the current owner and his real estate broker. We've had conversations with a number of different developers who have shown interest and have had questions, and so we try to kind of serve in a role where we're almost a liaison, but we don't have a whole lot of, unfortunately, real control over, you know, who does or does not buy the property or if it sells. So just trying to stay on top of that. And so there's a couple of projects that are kind of similar to that. And then kind of going through the list, you know, Jamestown Brewing Company is a project that continues to languish. The arcade building, there's still a Rochester area developer, Home Leasing, who has actually has gotten a grant for a project in Faulkner, has gotten some funding, and so was really critical to them that they were able to do that to make this project financially feasible. So they are very much interested in, they have a contract, they're under contract with the county to purchase the arcade building, and we'll look to do a major renovation there. So, you know, continue again, kind of a liaison sort of position or role that we take with that. Kind of moving through, we still have the Fund for Downtown programming, some exciting stuff, even despite the pandemic, where we had to kind of put a pause on events. We've got some really cool events coming up. We did have the $1 Million Quartet, which is a Broadway production at the Rech Lene. That was in November. Coming up, we have Jeffrey Zarkarian, who is a celebrity chef from the Food Network. He will be here at the Crystal Ballroom on January 27th as a celebrity host of So You Think You Can Cook, which is St. Susan's fundraiser event, but was a Fund for Downtown programming recipient. So there's some pretty neat stuff with that. You know, we handle kind of all of the through our I guess joint agreement with the JLDC. We handle or administer that through JLDC. So there's a lot of paperwork that goes with that. There's a lot of documentation. There's a lot of herding of cats and making sure everyone is doing what they're supposed to do. So we're in compliance, and it really is, you know, all about compliance while also making sure that we have some great events and bring people downtown. Riverwalk lighting is moving along. We are engaged with Stark Tech Group. We are working on getting our use and occupancy permit through DOT. And then some of the equipment has been ordered. We're looking at a spring 2022, spring of this year. We'll finally have some lights down on the Washington Street Bridge, highlighting those gorgeous piers, and on the Main Street arches, the bridge that goes over the river. and then additionally on the coal silo. The Tony Hawk Foundation, grant and skate park is moving along. Again, spring, completion date, hopefully. You know, obviously it's weather permitting, but, when all is said and done, it's going to be $1 million state-of-the-art skate park. And, folks from it used to be the Tony Hawk Foundation, it's now referred to as the Skate Park Project. They were in town with the Ralph Wilson Foundation, who we also received funding from, back in, I think it was November. And, they were just totally blown away by the design, by the size, just the location, everything about it. They said it's unique, it's not like anything else that they've done. And they have really made a concerted effort to strategize where they're putting their skate parks in western New York and on the eastern coast, because it's really, they kind of have started to develop sort of a circuit, so skateboard competitions can come into the area and kind of, you know, go from one park to another. So we're really seeing this as a great opportunity for us to actually host some really large scale competitive events in this skate park. I won't go through all of these. Exciting, Prendergast Landing. We worked with the JRC to submit a grant through the consolidated funding application process with the state. Prendergast Landing is where the old Joyce's Keg Room is located, actually right across the street from the skate park. Also across from the Edgewater Art House, which is a resource center property where they have a really robust art program, so kind of ties in nicely with that. And that's also across from McCray Point. You can see the steamboat Chaco Bell parked at McCray Point right from this building. So that's an exciting project. It'll redevelop the first floor as some mixed-use retail space and outfitter, rent kayaks, probably rent skateboards and do skateboard repair for obvious reasons. And then some other things that are conducive to, you know, waterfront recreation. And then a cafe, some pop-up retail space for, you know, entrepreneurs who might want to have some sort of small rental space where they can, you know, sell their artisan goods and whatever they might have. And then the second floor will be a shared co-working type space where someone who maybe doesn't have a need for a full office space or is not ready to jump into a rent of a larger office space can pay a membership fee. They can come as needed, have access to printers and Wi-Fi and coffee and those kinds of things. And when they need smaller office space with a closed door, they'll have that available to them. If they need conference space, they'll have a conference room that they can actually have meetings and bring clients in or whatever their needs might be. And there will also be some space on that floor for like party rental and that kind of thing. So you're the kid across the street having the skateboard party, your parents can rent this party room and you can come over and have cake and then go back and finish your skateboarding. So that kind of thing. The top floor will be like a short-term vacation rental. And the developer is also from the area, and he intends to use the space when his family is in town as well, because they do plan to be here a lot more than they have been. So
If you were hoping that Joyce's Keg Room would be back,
it will
I'm
not.
disappointed.
But the 10,000 Maniacs are excited that it's sticking around. So just as a side note, this property was owned by the Resource Center. They were looking at demolishing it because it was a liability to them at this point. They had a hard time trying to they had a couple of deals fall through where purchasers, they just didn't move forward for whatever reason. I happened to see a Facebook post that salvage was being done, and I did a little research and found out the salvage company was out of Buffalo, and it was a friend of mine. I just messaged him and asked him what was going on, because they hadn't filed for a demo permit. So reached out and was like, yeah, I think they'd sell it, that they'd rather do that than demolish it. So we reached out to them, and they were totally on board. It took a little longer than we would have liked, I think partially because of COVID. But it ended up working out, and the developer was able to purchase it and has already started cleaning the building out and getting ready to rock and roll on construction, so. Staff development, you all know we hired 3 new code enforcement officers to replace someone who retired, someone who resigned and moved on to another position, and we actually were able to add an additional code enforcement officer, which is a godsend, and we really need it with the code enforcement load that we have and the cases that we have. So they are in training now. One of them has completed training, 2 of them are still in training, they'll complete their training in March. And then we filled a long vacant position of the planning and research specialist, and that person will help us get up to speed with compliance. As a reminder, we had HUD monitorings starting in late 2019, so like November, December, and going all the way through the middle of 2021. They went well. We had some findings that we had to take care of, some things that we had to address. We've made all of those adjustments and have really been working to establish some standard operating procedures and really try to, I guess, the goal is to be able to have a really tight ship, right, and everything to be as it should be. And so compliance has been a major focus for us. So this person will help us get there. We've already done monitorings of our own, of our CHODOs, our community housing development organizations, which are CRIC and code. That had been done for quite some time. It allowed us to make adjustments that we needed to make. So we were doing it in accordance with HUD's guidelines, and so that went quite well. Collaborative initiatives, we have a ton of collaborative initiatives. We really try to make it a point to collaborate wherever we can and make sure that a lot of the agencies and community organizations that we work with regularly, we're all kind of on the same page. We're all trying to row in the same direction. We're not duplicating services, and the duplication, I think, of services is something that is probably very common. So we've really been trying to make sure that we're not doing that, and that we're better leveraging each other's resources and existing kind of roles in the community, so that we can, because there's so much to do, just trying to make sure that collectively we can do more and our efforts can go farther than if we weren't on the same page and we were constantly doing the same thing that the other agency is doing, right? So let's see. We held some business roundtables, which was really fantastic. We've met with every industry sector, so manufacturing, retail, restaurants, service industry, non-for-profits. So we held these roundtables to give them an opportunity to talk to us about what COVID has, I guess, how it's impacted their businesses and their organizations, and what their needs are, kind of where they are, and how they've either had to sort of pivot the way they do things, retool. If they haven't, how can we help them do that? So it was really great to get that input. And as we work through, developing programs for the American Rescue Plan funding, we've taken all of that input, as we've developed those programs. So those will, start to get presented to the council soon, in the next couple of weeks. And, so that's kind of where we are with that. So obviously, American Rescue Plan has taken a huge amount of our focus and energy, and will continue, as the year moves on. Lots of planning projects, lots of grant applications, and some really good successes. We had some little ones for $10,000, with, on behalf of the Tarp Skunks, a Preserve New York cultural survey grant. We assisted, the land bank with a Sheldon Foundation, grant application, and, through that, we'll continue to coordinate with them. We're not a partner in such that we'll receive any of the financial, benefit of it, other than, we were involved, they came to us for some, I guess, guidance, and really developed their grant application to the Sheldon Foundation based on what we do and some initiatives that we have, so that, again, we're not duplicating efforts, but we're able to do some things that really, complement each other. And then we just found out, was just announced today, that, we partnered with the, Chautauqua County Health Department on a grant application for healthy homes. And we received $2 million. That will get administered by the county, and we will be a project manager of that. So, we'll know kind of the financial implication of that, in the next month or so, as we work through a contract with them. But, that's on top of, another almost $1.6 million, between, a comprehensive plan grant for $99,000, a $1.2 million grant from Environmental Protection Fund, for the Chattahoochee River Basin, and then again, Prendergast Landing. We have a number of other grants, as you can see in the sheet, that are in process and that will get submitted here, over the course of the next couple of weeks. And we did actually, submit a grant application for the Edgewater Art House that I mentioned, which is the resource center, for $195,000, I believe was the dollar amount, and that was submitted on December 31st. So, lots of things going on. As you flip through, you'll see, properties that were, participated in our home program, some demolitions that are somewhere in progress. We had some catastrophic fires that required emergency demolitions. The biggest and most costly, of course, was the Jamestown Royal, factory fire. We will probably continue to see, the financial implications of that for another month or so. Let's see. Emergency repair program, we were able to help a number of, folks with that. Some of our CDBG programs, and then, I included some pretty extensive information on our zombie grant, and sort of where we are with that. Included in the zombie grant, and I guess the grant itself, the funding has been depleted, and of course, we still have Ben with us, which is fantastic, because we really need an attorney, because we have 19As in progress, and we are awaiting, and if you wanna jump in at all, Ben, you can on this, we're awaiting, 10, 19As,
9 currently.
that are with the court, just waiting for title to be, granted to the city. So we'll take ownership of those properties, and then the goal with those is to, really focus on developing new responsible homeowners. So the requirement to purchase those properties will be that they, it must be homeowner occupied. The properties will get rehabilitated, we'll have homeowners that live in them.
They'll take a course.
Yes, so there's a couple of different strategies that we'll use with that, so, and it really will depend on the property itself and the value of the property and a number of other factors, but, we also want to help, I guess, develop those responsible homeowners, so, having them participate in either COI or CRICS, first-time homebuyer courses, and, some other things where they'll continue to stay, involved, and we'll sort of, we don't wanna just throw them into homeownership, right? And so these properties will, the goal is to, neighborhood stabilization, put properties that have not been on the tax roll for a number of years or have had back taxes, for year after year after year, back on the tax roll, and increasing their property values, so, I guess neighborhood stabilization is really the key word there. Just in a few different ways to be able to achieve that. We've got some quick numbers at the end here. Code enforcement, we have 1,428 open cases. We issued 285 permits last year. The total value of that was $169,900, and it generated just over $16,000 in fees. 285 is slightly lower than the average, but given the shortage of contractors, given the continuing shortage of supply, I was actually kind of surprised that it was as high as that. And then we know that we have some pretty big projects coming online in 2022, so I anticipate that the number of permits may increase, but I think the total value, we should expect to increase quite a bit. CDBG funds that were spent in 2021, almost 1.2 million. That was number of projects assisted with that was 28. That is across all of our CDBG programs, facade for businesses and buildings, street projects, handicap accessibility projects. So it really covers all of our CDBG. I didn't get into that much detail. We spent $105,000, just over almost $106,000 in home funds, and assisted 14 properties. That's slightly lower than our average, but again, the contractor issue is a huge issue. And then we were able to wrap up our EPA assessment grant, and we spent just under $60,000 in that. We did 9 phase 1s and 2 phase 2s.
Did you reapply for that grant?
We did reapply. This round is a $500,000 assessment grant, and we did submit that. So fingers crossed. I can spend it in my sleep.
Hey, I have a question. What, like, for instance, the demolitions, like at Crescent Street property, and the city pays for it, I mean, is there recourse against the owner? And,
Depends if they got insurance.
well, obviously, you probably
That
didn't
much,
if the city paid for it, but I mean,
Yeah.
We don't
judgments or,
I'll step in on this.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
So with that building, it was owned by a pretty much broke guy through an LLC.
Mhm.
So seeking any recourse from him, the LLC only held that building, so there's no value to be had there.
Right.
You guys practically broke, we can get a judgment against him and maybe garnish some wages.
So it's a
His
waste of-
wages were coming from his kind of hackneyed operation of building furniture
Right.
in the one part of that building that wasn't completely trashed. So we could also seek damages against the families of the kids who set the fire, and that's probably our best option. But once again, my understanding is they might not be, if not judgment proof, they might be very, very close to judgment proof. So, I mean, we have options, we're exploring those options, but I can't imagine, our best bet might be going at the owner, see if he'll transfer us the land, and then we can maybe try to get some developer to come in on the land.
Yeah.
So,
Something like that.
it's something down the road where we'd
Right.
actually see any sort of significant
Mhm.
kind of, getting that money that we had to spend back.
Yeah, and that's kind of my goal, is
Right.
I think that makes the most sense.
Sure.
And we did the phase one, and we did a phase one and a phase two there, kind of with that in anticipation. That it, and, you know, when it's done being cleaned up, it will be, developable.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I think they do pursue liens depending on what is done on the property. I think that the issue here is exactly what they said, there's a vacant piece of land now,
Mhm.
and what do you do with that if there's a $200,000 lien on it?
Right.
Right, right.
The value just dropped to zero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Long story
Not to
short,
zero.
we don't get much out of this.
no, no. And unfortunately, this was such a costly one, so there was, the city allocates a amount, roughly 100,000 for demolitions.
Yeah, I think we have 130,000 in the 2022 budget.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then, the rest of it is coming through our CDBG allocation, which is, it's depleting
Right.
probably 2 full years of CDBG demolition funding.
We can do 150,000, that's the cap for demolitions on CBDG, so we can do multiple years, but the 1 year.
Yeah.
We
So
can use
it's-
multi-year funding, but they only have, like, there's rules and regulations on how,
Right.
infrastructure and general and all this other stuff, so.
So, yeah, it was a big hit.
Sounds like it.
Yeah,
It's expensive.
sets us back on, our ability to do some additional strategic demolition
Sure.
as well.
Even a normal house, a basement and everything is just,
Oh, it's 30, easily 30 grand,
just an average house.
yeah.
Mhm.
3-story house,
Yeah.
45 to 60. You know, it really depends on the
Depending.
size
Yeah.
and how much asbestos is in there. The clean demolition is the best, and then still 23,000.
Yeah.
And that's that's a killer deal right there. I'm saying.
Everything went perfectly.
Yeah,
Everything.
someone's outbidding someone else right here, we got it.
It's not like the old
We got it.
days.
We got a good deal.
When I was in high school, the swim team used to make money as a fundraiser. They literally demolished houses. Can you imagine that? They went in with
Wow.
sledgehammers and hard hats, and it would all be gutted out. They would go in there and just.
There's a workout, all
It was a workout. Can you imagine?
right. Are they interested, Tony? Would you like to?
Yeah.
help
They
us
probably
make
would be,
connection?
but I don't know how that works,
I don't know about those
It's
asbestos
all kinds of
regulation
liability
these
now,
days.
yeah. Yeah, the asbestos will get you.
New role for cross-country.
Five
Where's the
grand, you
light?
got it done. Here you
Yeah.
go. Go in there where those kids would be like, this is fun. They'd start whacking walls down.
Who doesn't wanna swing a sledgehammer at a
Yeah,
wall?
Yeah.
That was the fun part about reconstruction.
HGTV, watching when they do it.
Right, yeah.
There are communities in, not necessarily, some in western New York, but they will go in, and it's almost like a salvage, but it's
Yeah,
meant to
they
be
got them and take it.
for reuse purposes, so
Isn't that what they
they
do with the
sell
moose?
some of those
Yeah, like they
things
did
there.
with
The moose stuff.
Yes.
Some of
Yeah.
that. Who gets that money? They get it though, right? I mean, or do they?
The salvage company,
Company gets
yeah.
What some are doing is, some have set up not-for-profits that they call them like reuse centers. So they basically will go in, take whatever they can, and then put it available for other community members to come in and for a small amount purchase the doorknobs that you need, or the.
That Buffalo
hinges.
does that, don't
Yep.
they?
Yeah, they have
Yep.
it, 2, maybe even 3 different, well, yeah, they
Then
have
when they take out like woodworking
3 different
doors
ones, yeah.
and
Even
copper
floors and
flooring
window
and
casings
tiling.
and all of the historic
Anything
elements
that's
that are,
historic that
yeah.
might be worth something, they take
Yeah.
it out. Instead of throwing it out, people go in and
It
they'll say,
saves
I'll
on-
take that 100-year-old tile there
landfill
and put it in my
costs
cellar.
and,
The price of lumber is well worth it now.
absolutely.
Well, I'll take those Old door frames
Yeah.
and, you know.
Keeps it from going to the landfill, it's,
Those things are hard.
you know, it's usually really good quality stuff too, that you can't find anymore.
Cut it to fit and
Yeah,
retrofit it to your house.
yeah, so,
Any other questions on accomplishments? All right, any other items for public session? Do we have any executive session items?
I don't have any additional,
Okay.
oh, actually, yes,
Okay.
It's
So we
just
have-
information.
So we have one item for executive session, which is a potential
Potential loss.
litigation. No action to be taken. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So,
Move, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, don't forget.
Now we're back in executive session. Do not plan to go back into public session afterwards.
So can I stop it if we're not going back to public session?
Yeah.
If I just X out, it'll quit?